my husband and kids are out sledding right now, and it is so cold and snowing, of course, again. So I figured I'd make something nice and warm. But real quick, I'm going to show you the really pretty trees outside.
These trees look like they have icicles all over them. It's called hoarfrost, and when it begins to melt, it looks like it's snowing.
And this video is for my little brother. See, I did make another video, don't worry. Let's get started on making some New England clam chowder. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna add is onions. And this is one onion that I already chopped up. And then some celery, and this is about 4 celery stalks. It kinda is equal parts onion and celery. And you wanna make sure that they're nice and small. And now you wanna add about 2 tablespoons of butter. Now you can add some crushed pepper. And then some salt, crushed salt. Okay, and then stir this all together until your onions become kind of translucent. Okay, well that's good enough. Okay, so now you want to add your potatoes. And this is about 3 potatoes, and you want to cut them up so they're really small. This way the potatoes will not take as long to cook, and then your soup will be ready faster. And then just stir those up, and then you'll want to cook that for about 5 minutes. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes. Now we can add the other ingredients. Okay, so now you can add a quart of chicken broth. And if you don't have chicken broth, you can substitute it with vegetable broth. And sometimes people like to add flour right before this, but I find that the potatoes thicken it up enough. It's kind of a natural thickener. Okay, so now you can add 2 bay leaves. And now 2 cans of clams, and you'll want to add the juice from the can also in there. If you like a lot of clams, of course you can add another can or whatever of clams. And then some people add bacon to theirs, but that's not really New England clam chowder if you add bacon. And then once again, add some salt and pepper. And then give it a good stir. I have mine on medium heat. Just because my stove gets hot. You can have it hotter or lower depending on the temperature that your burner gets. It's crazy that the clams are kind of expensive in the stores, because I grew up not that far away from the beach, and we would go clamming a couple times a year. I have to admit, as a kid, I did not like clamming because when you're out there, you have to wake up super early in the morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning, so that the tide is down and you can get the clams easier. And so when you go out there, it is wet and it's cold, and there is seaweed that you slip on all the time. And then even when you're digging the clams up, you have to use a shovel, and it is mixed with some rocks, so it's really hard to dig. The best part about clamming is my dad would say, after clamming, we would get to go to the donut shop. So that's what got me every time. But now that I'm older, it just really brings back lots of memories, and I really appreciate my dad bringing us clamming. Okay, so for the last ingredient, you will want to add some heavy whipping cream. If you do not have heavy whipping cream, you are welcome to use half and half. Obviously, this is thicker, so you won't have to cook it down as long. But heavy whipping cream is more expensive than half and half, and I find them to kind of work the same. By the time the potatoes are cooked down, the soup thickens anyway. So I'm adding about a cup of heavy whipping cream. If you like it really creamy, you can add more. If it just really depends on your preference of what you like. Okay, so you want to bring this to a slight boil, and you want to cook this down until the chowder thickens and the potatoes soften, and then that's a good indicator that it is done. And that is about 30 to 40 minutes. Okay, so the soup has thickened and the potatoes are soft. It is perfect. It is time to eat. Thank you guys so much for joining me on making homemade New England clam chowder. As you can see, it is actually not very hard, and it's kind of crazy how expensive it is in the stores. Like the Progresso soup is really quite similar to it, except for I think it's better. For one thing, it's less processed. And in the morning when you go and say grab some, it's not watered down. And Progresso, it's always watered down in the morning if you don't eat it all. But anyways, so thank you guys so much, and please subscribe and support this channel by liking it. Thanks so much, guys. Bye, and see you in the next video.
Okay, you caught me.